Internetix is all about celebrating the internet growth on the continent. This year's theme focused on community and collaboration, taking a look at how organizations are leveraging the power of communication to enable rich collaboration among diverse groups, thereby enhancing innovation and productivity. Saki Masaikos, MD of Internet Solutions, says the conference has come a long way since it started 13 years ago.
Firstly, the most interesting thing when it started really was about a bunch of techies. The community was very small. I mean, I think the first Internetix we had about 100 odd people. Today we celebrate across Cape Town and Johannesburg almost 2,000 people that attend this, and it really has evolved from only a techies almost conference, but to something a lot more powerful from a business perspective. So we'll have a lot of business owners, CEOs, CIOs that attend this conference, and they really are trying to see what the opportunities are in terms of merging technology and where their businesses are actually going. So the biggest shift we've seen is that the much stronger focus around business. For us, it also is about growing the internet community as much as possible. In 2000, when we started, the internet community on the African continent was only about 4.5 million people. Today, 13 years later, we've got about 140 people, 130 odd million people on the African continent that are using the internet. But that's still tiny. It's only 13% penetration on the African continent, which obviously from a global context, there's 2.3 billion users on the internet. Certainly part of the internet conference is about sharing and communicating and educating around the power of the internet, what it can do from an economic impact to the South African and the African continent.
During the event, there were a number of speakers who touched on everything from big data to the last mile. Brian Pinnock, Head of Strategy and Innovation at Internet Solutions, spoke on the topic, how digitization is disrupting almost everything.
But really what I tried to do was actually highlight just a whole lot of things that have been happening in the industry over the last few years, and try and sort of allow people to take a step back and look at the sort of bigger mosaic, the picture that emerges rather than just the little coloured squares. But particularly looking at things like digital disintermediation happening to businesses, to consumers and to government, and the kinds of things we could be doing. It's possible to actually look overseas, look at America, look at what's happening in Northern Europe, in Western Europe I should rather say, and use them as a kind of a crystal ball for where we could be going in future. But the trick there is actually to look at their context and find if there's some similarities and if there's some bottlenecks and mechanisms that exist here that first need to be broken before we can actually use that as a crystal ball for the future.
Greg Montjoy, Cloud Executive at Internet Solutions, looked at data. His topic was monetizing big data.
We're talking about big data in the enterprise and particularly how to monetize it. And it's quite interesting if you look at where mankind or humankind has come over the past couple of years. We're generating more data in a year than we have collectively as a race since we've really started recording things on papyrus in ancient Egypt times. I'm not saying necessarily that the data is more useful or more interesting, but we're certainly generating and storing more data than we ever have in the history of mankind. So it's really important for businesses to start to understand how they can tap into this, or even whether they need to tap into this, to start to look at their data assets that they've got within their organizations, how do they mine it, and then get it out there into the bad wide world to actually generate income or value-added services for their clients.
When entrusting your personal data within the cloud, the question has to be raised, how safe and secure is this data?
Yeah, I think we from a cloud perspective, there's no doubt that the security is there. I think the big fear about security, especially when you start to look at consumer security with data in the cloud, we all subscribe to Facebook, we all subscribe to LinkedIn and a myriad of other online portals. The reality of it is we're trusting personal data with these environments, and if that data has to get out onto the internet, it really becomes seared into the essence of the internet, and it's really almost impossible to retract. I guess if you had 100 Rand with the bank and that 100 Rand went missing, although not great, in a personal capacity you can kind of limit the damage or get insurance, or the bank will pay you back. But if your personal data gets out into the internet, it's a big problem. And I think people are becoming more and more conscious about how they manage their data and how they look after it on the internet. I think what's also critical going forward is to make sure that whatever as an organization, if you're providing a service, that you are protecting your client's data. The tools and the facilities are there to be able to provide a seamless, secure environment for your clients and your consumers, but you have to make sure that you're using them and using them intelligently.
Saki Masaikos says that guests can expect much of the same next year, with a bit more of a focus on the cloud.
Well, first and foremost, it really is about growth. We're really hoping to take this conference to the next level. We're seeing technologies evolve and adapt at a very, very rapid rate. We're hoping that this year, this time, we'll have another 20-30% growth in terms of the internet community and really what we can do for the internet. I do certainly think the theme of social networking is going to still be a very strong theme. And I think the power of cloud and cloud computing in terms of leveraging that on behalf of our clients and our partners will probably be a lot more relevant in next year's conference.